document the progression of like what happened and how it happened. Like, how did the conversation start? Where did it go to and why? Evaluating the tangents and celebrating it rather than, pathologizing it means, oh my God, they were so disorganized, they were off topic, there was no agenda, I didn't know socially what I was supposed to do, supposed to say. People who are here for one reason, to thrive together. Why are we resilient people? Why are we doing what we do? We do because, as I shared, I dress for the woman who greets me in the mirror every morning. And we started talking about internalized oppression. What do you celebrate for yourself? And it turns out that a lot of people, many of the participants are also autistic adults when they joined our group. So they were saying that pretty much this whole self-care thing, it was, knocked out of them because of, being disadvantaged by family dynamics, neurodivergence, whatever makes you be the different person, the oddball, the one that stands out, the one who can't be compliant, the one who can't organize their behavior. And it led to a discussion about asexuality. And I asked a friend who was on the call, I said, what is your reaction when I first told you I'm asexual? And the response was, I can't understand it because I don't have that life. And that made everything so much more relatable. We were able to talk about sexuality. Then we laughed about it. So you gotta go because your cat is biting you right now. Are you saying you're a cat person? No, I like dogs. I like everything. I like all the animals. Oh, no. In a perfect world, you must declare dog person or cat person. So we decided that they were pet fluid, pet non-conforming. And in that spirit, I brought the screen sharing of the 3-minute video that is celebrating 1 year in COVID-19 that we have been thriving in isolation. Autistic people and other people who have previously been called maladaptive are thriving.
So indeed, we are thriving during this lockdown. For me, it's now or never. Now I can listen to all those audiobooks I have in my library. I have worked myself through quite some books now, since December 23rd, when we went into this lockdown. While listening to those audiobooks, I love to draw mandalas. I am a little bit ADHD, and therefore my way of learning is when I can listen to something, my hands need to be busy. So somehow including the body will help me really integrate this information that I'm listening to. Otherwise, when I'm only listening, my brain tends to dissociate sometimes. So I listen to those audiobooks, my mind is busy, but my eyes at the same time see those colors, and it is very nourishing. And I love to play with colors. And those Celtic nuts, I am obsessed with them. So that's a lot of fun, and it's really kind of therapeutic to do this. Very regulating for the nervous system. It gives you that happiness and inner calm. I think I have never read or listened to so many books in such a short time. Some audiobooks I even read for the second time, like Waking the Tiger. And right now I'm listening to Deb Dana's book Befriending Your Nervous System, which is such a wonderful book. Yeah, and I also went through a few cult books where I learned what it does to your brain when you have been in a cult. It's very important to know, and I should have read those books earlier. And then I have a whole list of autism books waiting for me. Yeah, so I am busy. Now I can read the Kindle books that I have in another library. And now I have finally time to listen to those classes from NICABM. It's about shame, emotional triggers, rejection and abandonment. I'm right here. Feeling stuck and trauma in general. And I love the approach they have because it is nervous system related. And all those trauma experts like Peter Levine, Bessel van der Kolk, Pat Ogden, Stephen Porges, Deb Dana, to name just a few. You learn a lot by listening through those modules. It's very high quality. And you have that beautiful combination of bottom-up and top-down psychotherapy techniques and methods to heal trauma. I love especially that approach that you hear in somatic experience or the polyvagal theory, or Pat Ogden also uses this approach, regulating the nervous system, and as a therapist, regulating your own nervous system. Because when you are in a dysregulated nervous system, the client's nervous system will pick that up and sense danger. This is how we are wired biologically. And it doesn't matter if you are autistic or neurotypical, we all have a nervous system. And possibly autistics are just more sensitive. We have that sixth sense, so to speak. So we will react very quickly if any person is in a dysregulated state, in a fight, flight or freeze state. You pick that up and then you will start to feel weird and stressed. You will no longer feel safe. And that's a problem that so many psychotherapists are not aware of. They think They can tell you all the good stuff, but they actually vibrate in this dysregulated state. So no matter what they say, we pick up that state and not what they say. This is really something very important, and I refuse to work with a therapist who isn't aware of that, because you will get re-traumatized when this is so dysregulating. You will also feel dysregulation. And if you are a trauma survivor, you can actually only heal when you work with a person that isn't a threat to your nervous system. The body will just react. You cannot even do anything, especially when you are a trauma survivor. You will feel that immediately. And then this will be very difficult to work through trauma with a person you don't feel safe with, a person that triggers your nervous system. And therefore, when you work with a therapist, make sure that you feel comfortable with them. Make you feel anxious, if they make you feel stressed and you feel that they don't really listen, that they are not really present, that they have an agenda or see you as a diagnosis in the room and not as a human being, then I would not waste the time. I would rather choose somebody who feels safe. So I feel so alive, being able to really do what I love. This is so recharging. You can't believe how much my nervous system has recovered from just not having to leave the house every day to go to work and being in an environment that is sensory-wise not challenging. It's amazing. We are very active socially, but online. And in the meantime, we have a lot of time to do whatever we like to do, follow our special interests, and this makes you feel so alive. So just now I was in a Zoom meeting with Henny and very nice other autistics, and we just have a chat about everything, and it is so fascinating how you can not know each other but then feel so connected. And this is what I actually miss when I'm trying to socialize in a different way. Isn't there the connection? I'm not sure what it is about, but probably it's that mind melt that happens when you can exchange your ideas and be in awe. Those beautiful minds. It feels very nourishing to have such a deep, meaningful exchange with like-minded people. And there were so many topics that came up, and it was such a rich conversation, so beautiful. And every time you have this beautiful exchange, you learn, and it's liberating too. And also intellectually, it's so beautiful having this mind melt. And then those topics we exchanged, what came up was also fighting the dogma. Fighting the dogma. As a cult survivor, I know how that feels like when you can't get through. When people are caught in their own very narrow thinking, and then nothing you say can change that. There is no openness. There is no true listening. They just look through this tunnel vision, and all that is here they don't see. Same goes for autism experts who look through the lens of psychiatric disorders. So then their dogma is the DSM-5. So they don't see the human being, they don't see individuality, they don't see the whole spectrum of autistic expression. And they don't see what is going on that isn't autism. So everything becomes the autism, the disorder that is not proper behavior. And that's so frustrating because you are not being heard, really. They don't hear what you are saying. You just talk to a wall. Same result. So you have this hierarchy. They have this kind of medical arrogance, and they sit on their high horse thinking they are the experts. And it should be the other way. You should be seen as the expert of your own experience, that they can basically judge you and throw diagnosis your way, and that's an imbalance. Your dignity is thrown in the mud, trampled on. This is really humiliating. So this is a completely different approach in comparison to a trauma therapist that works from nervous system to nervous system. There it opens up so many possibilities, and a diagnosis is not important. You are just a human being with a dysregulated nervous system. And you have way more possibilities. You can work on learning to feel safe and to have a regulated nervous system. For autistics, this may be very hard work, but I always say you can take straws off the camel's back. Many different tools, and it is great if you have a toolbox that has many tools that you can play with and apply by yourself, and also with the help of a comforting other. Somebody who makes you feel safe. But I feel this really needs to change, that this dogma about seeing autistics through this lens, it's not helpful, because we autistics, we pay the price and we get traumatized by it. I sure was. The evaluation was stressful and traumatic. It really triggered me. And this should not be. You shouldn't feel ashamed. You shouldn't feel humiliated. You shouldn't be in a fight response for weeks and weeks after the evaluation. This shouldn't happen. Autism evaluation should just be something, few confirmation that you are functioning in a different way, that your brain is wired in a different way, and that with the necessary support, you can make your life just as beautiful and nourishing and stress-free as everybody else's, with the necessary adjustments, and that's it. Autism evaluation should be about helping the autistic find the necessary tools, the necessary support, and work through the challenges. Remove the roadblocks. That's what it should be about, and not dehumanizing, invalidating, making you feel less than. So therefore, I am so grateful for having the autistic community and that beautiful, rich, nourishing, funny, entertaining, liberating, and educational exchange.
The problem is that they encounter in society some kind of shame, like you can't talk about it because the uncle is dying, so why are you having a Zoom party? Anything that made the world more accessible, like shelter in place, masks, all of this became a bonus for functioning, and when that bonus for functioning, you start being called out for it as the crazy one, the different one, the non-compliant one. My happiness is not a behavior problem. So, the medical challenges that people have that contributes to isolation, because if you have chronic pain, if you have a mental health disorder, if you have something going on in your life, but you can't talk about it right now because people are dying from a pandemic, for Christ's sake, and that is the reaction that you get, then what is your support network? And I love telling people that I do anti-social science research. Social science research is psychology, the research scientifically about society. I love it. Society and the abnormality of the mind. Society and altered states. Society and othering. The indigenous knowledge systems we have that are not being adequately and authentically portrayed, and putting everything underneath. I have chronic pain, but my grandfather is in the ICU, so now we have to, even though I'm having a miscarriage right now and I'm wearing 4 pads, I have to go to the ICU because the family expects it. All these expectations, being able to find yourself in a pandemic where you find your autonomy, your self-sufficiency, that in itself is thriving. So we're not making fun of people who are not functioning. We're just saying, who are you calling maladaptive now? And we talked about upbringing, difficulty with empathy, society's idea of what empathy is and isn't. Are you psychotic? Are you autistic? Are you a sociopath that can't feel? But at the same time, if there was a truck that ran over my ex-husband and that was the end of my pain or my problems, I wouldn't feel any pain or suffering of his body at the moment of impact. And that's not sociopathology. That's quite literally me having a grip of my anger. Exactly. Being able to get homicidal about it in my mind and still stay regulated.
Finding your authenticity. Playing. Doing what you love and not feeling ashamed about it. Coming home to yourself. And the next song that Henny plays on the piano represents exactly that. Coming home to yourself. It's such a beautiful melody.